Real questions, real answers for real life. Come on in and pull up a chair. You're at 1850 Main Street with Michael DelGiorno and David Zanotti.
Is the Declaration of Independence still relevant in America today? That's the question on the table here at 1850 Main Street.
How's the coffee?
Perfect as always.
Mine too. I'm grateful. It's the 4th of July season, and a lot of people on the 4th of July check out. Can you blame them? I mean, they stop watching the news. They stop watching television. They go outside. They do like normal American things. And so it's a kind of time for conversation, but it's not necessarily conversation about news. It's about the 4th of July. So I'm just curious. Any good 4th of July memories in your background, history, kid growing up?
Well, I have several. Young, we used to go to the local high school, and that's where the fireworks display was. And so I have many, many young childhood memories with my brothers and friends watching fireworks at the local Rolling Meadows High School, where Sebastian Maniscalco went, as well as Jimmy G. Garofalo.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah.
Maniscalco went to your high school?
Maniscalco grew up literally probably 80 yards from my house.
Okay, I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
That's a small world. So I have great memories. And then as we got older, teenagers, we used to take these pieces of pipe and just kind of bend them in half, and they would make the shape of a gun.
Wait. Do we want to continue this?
Yeah, no. And we would have, believe it or not, this is typical 70s stories, okay, right? How you'd get in cars with the windows up and everybody was smoking with no seatbelts on, all the things you didn't do back then because you didn't know. So we would have bottle rocket fights. So you'd slide it into the pipe, and then you could aim it like a gun, light it, and then you would shoot at your friends across the yard. Bottle rocket fights. For some reason, and then I have my adult memories, which is taking my kids to fireworks in Franklin. So yeah, fireworks and eating.
Did anybody go to jail like for this, or this was okay? I mean, you got away with this?
No, I don't even think it was illegal back then. I mean, nobody knew that they could. I had one landed. Believe it or not, it's a memorable story. I had one land in my pants and go off. Caught and wedged just under my belt loop and went off. But yeah, fortunately, nobody lost an eye, and we had fun. But these are the memories that go through my head, eating, fireworks, music.
We used to, my mother hated this. My dad would let us go up on the roof. Now, it was just a little small house, like about 1,000 square feet. And it had just a regular, normal pitched roof. It was a single-story ranch, so it wasn't very big. But he'd let us get up a ladder. We'd go up on the back, and we'd climb up to the very top, and we would sit on the peak of the roof, because if you sat up there, you could see the fireworks at the nearby football stadium. So we could be able to watch them that way. And I remember doing that as a kid. Drove my mother nuts that we were up on that roof, and it's so funny. You fall off that roof, you break your neck. I'm not taking you to the hospital.
Well, we had a crawl space inside. There was two things. My dad's boat was parked in the garage, and it was very cozy, to get underneath the cover and get inside the boat and just sit inside the boat in the dark. And then we had a crawl space that we used to hang out to. But remember when you were a kid, there was nothing like sitting on the roof. I had one other 4th of July tradition that I thought. And it stuck with me until Nick was about 5. And then I think when Nick was 8, I tried to play it for him and he just left. But I used to watch George M. Cohan, Yankee Doodle Dandy with Jimmy Cagney.
Okay, and that is such a great movie.
Oh, the best ever. It never felt like 4th of July when I didn't watch it.
And I only found that movie a couple of years ago because our dear friend, mutual friend, Dr. Chuck McGowan, who's a medical professor who helped lead us to sanity through COVID, and how he got us through and so many people through that by being a real honest doc. He said to me, I don't know, several years ago, he said, I want you to watch a movie for me. And I want you to think of the friendship that we share when you watch this movie. And I so like you now, I watch it. I also watch Gettysburg every 4th of July.
Yeah.
Because it takes me about 3 days to watch it, but it reminds me that the 4th of July didn't end the 4th of July 1776, that every generation faces the questions of what does that document mean? What's the Declaration of Independence all about? So I wanted to bring that to the table today. I wanted to chat with you about this because I have a real concern. And I got to confess this. I don't know that I've ever said this to you this way out loud, but my concern is that we are falling so fast away from the memory of what this document is that it's not even a part of our reality equation any longer as Americans. Now, I'm not just talking about patriotism or flag waving or 4th of July. I'm talking about remembering how we became a country in the first place, and it wasn't our idea. The Americans that were alive in the late 1600s and through the 1700s, they didn't wake up saying, I can't wait to start a country. They were forced into this situation. They did not go willingly.
Everybody thinks that it was, all poetic. Now, I will tell you,
All poetic. That's great.
when you read the Declaration of Independence, your first thought ought to be, what better people they were than we are, how smarter they were, wiser they were, eloquent they were. But, at some point in the middle of that document, it's actually very practical when it's going through its list of grievances. And it's like, we've tried everything. We've reached out and we've gotten no response. They have left us no alternative. So it really is, it's a preamble, then it's a list of grievances, and then it's setting up what we're going to be and what we always must be or we should dissolve. And then it ends just very simply. I want to get to the ending last in my perspective, because I think the ending is lost. It's just like John F. Kennedy's had so many greater quotes than ask not. But, for all that people can quote in the Declaration of Independence, I really love the last line. We'll get to that in a bit. But I think it was very practical in addition to being very whimsical and wise.
When you subscribe to 1850 Main Street, you're the first to find out what's happening next with new guests, publications, and events. And when you spread the word about 1850 Main Street, you're helping others find real answers to the real questions facing America right now. To learn more, visit 1850mainstreet.com. And please, tell a friend.
How's this for the opening to the article, if you will? When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Get this, a decent respect.
You were just talking about that the other day.
Basically, they're saying we've been living like this for, listen, this has been decades. This goes back to the 1600s when they first came here as English subjects. They came over here, and now it's time. They said, we can't do this anymore. We've grown to the place where we need to be our own country, and this is not going to go easy. And we've been working on this for quite some time, and we're getting nowhere. And we're pretty doggone frustrated. In fact, we're so frustrated that we're telling you we're doing it anyways. Now, that's kind of like, telling your mother-in-law, your future mother-in-law, that guess what? We're eloping. Sorry, get over it. See ya. I mean, you're going back to the mother country saying we're starting our own nation. And here's why. Now, so it flows from a concept of mutual respect. So the next paragraph starts with these words, which we know very well. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Here's the question that's on my mind this year, and we go through this every single year and think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Wait a second. That all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We've been kicking around the words, about absolute truth, and there's no longer any truth, and everything is relevant. These folks were not in that world of saying everything is whatever you want it to be. We hold these truths to be self-evident. First off, they're telling us that as leaders of the states, of the colonies, they came together in assembly as a representative body saying, here's what we agree upon in regards to the reality equation for these American colonies. We agree that there are truths that are as plain as the nose on all our faces, and we know they're true. They're self-evident. We hold these truths. We embrace them, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. I got to ask the question, does anybody believe that anymore? Now, I know the answer was yes. Of course people still. I mean, we run into people every single day.
Can I phrase it a different way?
Yeah.
Do we live every day like we believe
Yeah.
it?
Do we live like we believe it? Or have we become so overrun by relativism that the idea of a truth being is just as plain as day is well, no, and not anymore. You can't trust anything. There is no such thing as truth. There is no such thing as absolute truth. There certainly is no such thing as self-evident truth, but they were convinced that their start into a new nation was built upon a platform, a reality equation that they agreed upon. We hold these truths, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. So,
Inalienable rights, meaning this doesn't come from man. This doesn't come from government. This doesn't come from the Supreme Court. That's kind of what we're living now, right? Nobody believes in absolute truth. We've abandoned it. Nobody, if you believe in God, you keep him tucked away somewhere. It's nobody's business, and you certainly don't push him on anyone else. Ultimately now, the Supreme Court is the decider of what is, ultimately. But I mean, what the founding fathers saw were things that are now under the question of inalienable rights. What kind of things could we discuss? Endless, right? Things that are supposed to be understood that may not be today.
let me throw another question at you. And it's interesting because there's always the Old English and the New English. It's written in the original Declaration, unalienable rights. And most of us today write it and speak it as inalienable rights. In any case, the synonym for what that means is untouchable. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain untouchable rights. Because they're placed there by somebody else. That's the key, that everyone is created equal and given certain rights that are untouchable.
But we know, watching Yankee Doodle Dandy, that wasn't a problem for George M. Cohan, who really lived and really existed. Over there.
Yeah.
And then I watched, when I was young, patriotism. We felt patriotism in the Gulf War, then we armchair quarterbacked it. We felt it in the Afghan and Iraqi War, and then we armchair quarterbacked. But at some point, it almost begs the question, is it politically correct to be patriotic, or is that nativist?
Okay, those are two very separate, that's an interesting combination of two very different ideas. First off, patriotism is for some people simply a feeling. For others, it's a reflection of a reality equation. They feel this way because they think this way. Often when we talk about patriotism, we think that there's some sort of blind loyalty to the flag or blind loyalty. These folks that wrote this document, the Declaration of Independence, did not have blind loyalty. They had their eyes wide open. They saw truth as self-evident, and they agreed that those truths existed and that they were in fact self-evident. So for them, that wasn't a feeling. That was a heartfelt, core, thought through, intellectual conclusion of reality. They held a worldview. Now, Michael, I got to tell you, I think a lot of people still in America today, you're never going to get the poll to be written this way, but I think if we could write an extensive enough set of polling questions as to whether or not people believe there is still a creator, that the creator exists, I think the vast majority of Americans would say yes. Now, they would argue about how the creation might have happened. They might even argue as to what do you mean by creator? Do you mean designer? Do you mean force of the universe? I mean, there's all kinds of ways, but they would agree that there's something more than just us in the universe, and there's something that started all of this, something or someone. I don't think we've lost that natural wonder of our humanity, but I think it's significant to note that the Declaration of Independence, it quantifies that. Creator is capital C.
I know.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed. The Creator is capital C. The Creator is personal because the Creator acts on behalf of his creation, which is us, and has given us certain untouchable rights, and then enunciates. But it doesn't say these are all the rights that we have. It says that that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
It's very similar to the conversation of love. What I love about the New Testament is Greek has 3 different words for love, so it makes it very obvious when you're talking about godly love, friendship love, phileo, eros, which is a love that we have with our wives. Because love's not a feeling, it's a commitment. And when you wholeheartedly believe in that creator and you wholeheartedly believe in liberty and freedom, your patriotism is both intellectual and feeling. It should be, right?
To tell this conversation that we continually have is a point at which I have to tell you the truth. I'm not a fan of the word patriotism. And the reason I'm not a fan of it is first off, I'm not a New England's Patriots fan. Right? But more significantly than that, even though I have a great amount of respect for how Bill Belichick does business sometimes, there is a problem with patriotism in that it connotes, in my understanding, it connotes blind flag-waving loyalty. That's kind of what it means today. It's scoffed at. It's scoffed at as old-fashioned, nonsensical, leap of faith nationalism, or you called it nativism. No, I don't think they were talking about any of that stuff here. They were talking about their core beliefs in reality. Now, remember, they didn't have an American flag yet to wave.
No, yeah.
So this wasn't let's get in the stands and cheer for the team with these uniforms. This is people who are saying, look, our lives are so bad right now compared to what they should be. We're willing to start a brand new country. We're not just going to change jerseys. We're going to change addresses, residence, and who owns the titles to all of this. And thank you very much, but we're taking it from here.
And think about what they were up against financially and militarily. It would be, I don't know what it would be like. It would be like Jamaica trying to take on the U.S. military.
You know what? That's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, who are we kidding here? This is a statement that's made before these people literally walk off a cliff.
So why do I say that? Because most Americans are like, well, I'm an American because I live here. They were an American for a long, very specific moral and reality reasons, and they were willing to die for it. They were almost certainly going to die. Give me liberty or give me death. I mean, they were literally because of the odds. And then there's the order, because I live, when I moved to Tennessee, I saw a lot of that. At some point, I got uncomfortable with the patriotism that felt like it was almost worship. I mean, I love the old mission statement we had, which was God, family, and country. And the question is, do we really live it and live it in that order? That God comes before our family and our family comes before our country. You can get things out of line, but you can also get things out of definition, whereas this was very specific. And they had been trying to work it out for a long time. This was not a first choice, a rebellious choice. Right. This was a last choice, and they were willing to risk everything for it. That's really believing. That's really loving.
All right, and it also means we got to have a second cup of coffee on this, because there's something else about this I got to bring up. But I think the summation of what I'm trying to get to is that I'm wrestling with right now is, first off, the word respect blows me away, because they're coming at this with so much respect for their enemies that they're saying, you need to understand where we're coming from here. The second thing is that they had a view of the world that was anchored in a transcendent creator who made them who they are, gave them what they had. And they were trying to steward that correctly. And that meant they couldn't stay in the same house they were raised in, because it wasn't working anymore. It's a pretty big deal.
This conversation isn't over yet, so come on back next time and pull up a chair at 1850 Main Street. To help spread the word, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To find out more, visit 1850mainstreet.com. We'll see you soon.